Today, I'm going to show you how to create Renewal Elixir, a new beginning for a new year. The things we need to create our Renewal Elixir is one glass bottle, and I opted for one that had a round glass stopper on it. I picked this one up at Hobby Lobby. We're also going to be using some rubbing alcohol, but you could definitely use some distilled water and just a tiny bit of glycerin. I've also been told that white vinegar works well too. We're going to need a funnel for filling. We're going to use some black gel food coloring and a cooking skewer. We're going to be using some iridescent confetti, some black satin cording, a white sealing wax hot glue stick with the hot glue gun, scissors. These are some embossing markers. Then we're going to need some iridescent mica powder that I picked up from Michael's. I'm also going to be using some of this Galaxy Chameleon mica powder from this box set. We'll go over that later. I'm going to be using some Mod Podge and a couple brushes. And finally, we will need our label printed on sticker paper, and the link for this is in the description down below. Let's get started. Would you like a chance to win a monthly potion bottle? Then consider supporting me over on Patreon. All of my patrons have a chance to win a monthly potion bottle. Patreon not your thing? No worries. You can become a member here on YouTube where you get exclusive icons and emojis to use in the comments section. Link is in the description down below. So for this bottle, I decided to give it some iridescent qualities. I feel like the Renewal Elixir is good for like a new year, and since we're in 2024, which God I hope is better than 2023, I felt like we could all use a Renewal Elixir. So that being said, when I think of New Year's, I think of, glittery and sparkly things. I think of silver, gold, I think of iridescent, and I think of black. So we're going to kind of incorporate the iridescent and black qualities into this potion. So the first thing I want to do is we're going to do something a little different on the bottom of this one. I'm going to just take the stopper off. And we are going to paint some Mod Podge on here, and then we're actually going to dust it with our iridescent mica powder. And it's going to end up leaving us with a really pretty shimmery quality at the bottom. And I think it'll just kind of add to the overall appeal. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is take some of our Mod Podge. And I'm literally just going to open it up and dip my brush in there. And this is a brush that I let Mod Podge harden on at one point, and only part of it hardened, and I couldn't, even soaking it in water, couldn't get it to fix, so I just cut it off, and now it's a great short brush that works out great for this particular project. All right, so we have some Mod Podge here on the end, and all I'm going to do is do some random brush patterns here on the bottom. And I'm going to try to go all the way around fairly quickly so we can just do one hit with the powder. And if you're not familiar with Mod Podge, it will dry clear. It's just going on white right now, so we can see where we're putting it. And then we'll be able to add our mica powder. And before we add our mica powder, we kind of want it to dry just a little bit so it's kind of tacky. And as you can see, this side's already becoming that somewhat dry, tacky state, which is perfect. So I'm going to add just a tiny bit more here. All right, so now that we are in this stage, I'm going to take our mica powder. Now, you're definitely going to want to put down a piece of paper or something because we want to catch any excess mica powder so that obviously we can reuse it. So I'm just going to dust the mica powder on. And then I'm going to use my brush just to make sure that it gets on all of the areas. Then we're going to dump that side off. I may actually kind of dip part of this side into our little puddle of mica powder here. And then again, we'll use the brush to help guide it some. And we're going to roll this side in it. And don't worry, I know this looks messy right now, and you're like, Andrea, what are you doing? Don't worry. It's going to turn out cute. And it just adds another little different quality to the bottle. Okay, Once you get everything the way you think you want it, I recommend trying to tap some of the excess off. I feel like we didn't get any on this corner. All right, so we're going to let this sit for a minute and dry. And while that dries, I'm going to put our excess powder back into our jar. Now, while I'm letting this dry, we're going to use some embossing markers on our label here. Now, embossing stamp pads or these embossing pens basically are just a specially formulated glue that allows embossing powders to rise. Now, that being said, there is an iridescent embossing powder, but it sucks. So I picked up this holographic embossing powder from Hobby Lobby, and it looks like it should be really pretty and sparkly, but it doesn't really work. So it leaves a little bit of glitter behind, but it doesn't fully emboss like silver or gold embossing powders do. I just was not impressed. So after playing with it, I was like, I know embossing is just a glue. I thought we would try something. So I did, and I really liked it. And it was just using the embossing pen to be a catalyst to stick our mica powder onto a certain area. All right, so working quickly, I'm going to take my embossing marker and I'm going to try to hit some of these stars. All right, and then I'm going to take the broad marker and do the moon. And I'm going to do the outside edge. Now on this, I may go a little bit on the outside edge here, and that's okay because we still have to cut this out. All right, so while this is wet, we're going to take our mica powder, and a lot's going to come out because that's just what it does. It never sprinkles on exactly how I want it to. I'm just trying to hit all, see? Just going to try to hit all of the areas, and then I'm going to use my little brush here to kind of press it down just a smidge in those spots. All right, then we're going to pick up our label. And I'm actually going to try to dump as much of this back in here as I can, and if it goes onto our mat here, that's okay. All right, so once we get the majority in there, we're then going to tap some more excess off. And then because this is embossing powder, it is a glue, so I'm going to hit it with my heat gun just to help it dry. Okay, so I just hit that real quick. I'm going to let that dry for a second while we get the rest of this mica powder back into the jar. All right, now that this has had a chance to cool off for a second after hitting it with our heat gun, I'm just going to take a paper towel here, and we are going to brush the excess off. Flip your side, really rub it good again. And as you can see, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but everywhere where we did the embossing pen, we get this beautiful purple, pinky, blue shimmer. And where we didn't, so the black areas, there's none. There's just a tiny little trace of the mica powder, but nothing crazy. But we get this cool effect. So when we stand it up on the bottle, at certain angles, it's just going to look white. And then when you shake it or move it just a little bit, you just get this beautiful little hint of iridescence, and I think that's really pretty. So super fun effect. I don't know how well the camera's picking it up, but it's definitely visible in person. All right, so now we're going to take our, well, actually, I'm just going to take a paper towel because this is satin dried, and we're going to brush the excess off. And I don't know if you guys can see that there's a decent amount of little powder here that we were able to brush off. And then anywhere that you think is just like thick and looks white, just rub it a little bit extra and take some more off. And what we're left with is a bottom edge that just looks super fun and random. And at certain angles, you barely see it. And then at others, we get the really great shimmery mica quality. And it's in there. It's not coming off on my hands or anything like that. Like, it's on there, so you don't even have to worry about sealing it. If you wanted to, you can, but you really don't need to. Now, there is this, like, glob right here. Not really a fan of, so I'm just going to kind of scrape part of that off, but I'm going to try to make it look somewhat intentional. I actually may take a little bit of the embossing just to add a little bit more glue. And then just kind of hit it in some of this off spatter. And then again, we'll just brush the excess off. See? There we go, fixed. Now, if you don't want to get embossing pens, you could use for the label part a Zig glue pen, which I have not used in a long time, but I do love them. The only difference is it's not as thin, so you're going to see every little line. That's why it's perfect for making lines like we did with our Beauty and the Beast cloche or our Frozen bottles where we used it to add glitter. It is really perfect for that because, again, it just makes a thin line. But when you're trying to color a specific area, you're going to see every little, like, brush mark, for lack of a better term, or drawing stroke. Whereas with the embossing markers, you don't. It just kind of soaks in and blends and gives us that really undetectable shimmer quality. All right, so now that we have the bottom of our bottle done and we have our label prepped, we can now cut our label out, and then we're going to finish making the rest of our bottle. All right, now that that is all done and we get that beautiful iridescent quality on the bottom, we're going to fill up part of the inside with our iridescent confetti. Now, it's part of why I have the cooking skewer here, because we may need some assistance getting it in. I'm actually going to bring that piece of paper back to catch our excess, because I'm sure there will be some. I would love for it to just pour in here. Yeah, we're not that lucky. Yeah, it's going to try to go all over the place because, you know, that's what glitter and confetti does. But we'll see what we can add in here, and we'll let the excess drop, and we'll just put it back in the bag. So I'm going to try to add a decent amount. I actually wanted to fill up a little bit here, which I think will also add to the iridescent strokes we did on the outside. It's going to kind of look like the inside and the outside are merging. Now, this will also shake and move a little bit when we go to shake our bottle, but it'll settle right down to the bottom again, which is cool. All right, that is plenty in there. I just want enough that we can see it. Let me clean up my mess here. All right, so as you can see, with that in there, we can't really see our outside, but you will once it's filled. And again, I just wanted it to kind of give an iridescent quality to the outside, similar to the inside. All right, so we're going to get ready to fill up our potion, but today we're going to be using some of this, I think the brand is Cruzix, Chameleon Powder in Galaxy. So this is a Galaxy mica powder, and it came in this collection that had 8 mica powders in it. And they're all beautiful. So I've been really impressed with these. They don't have any pigment in them that I have seen so far. They all clear out to clear. As you can see in my test bottle here, it clears out to clear. And when we shake it up, you get the beautiful blue purple shimmer of the Galaxy. This set also comes with really pretty teal green one that's called Violet. They have the fuchsia one that's like this orangey fuchsia color. Blue, which is like a blue purple. Then there's another cyan. We've got a gold. And then we have a green that is also like a green red, or like a green pinky color. So we'll definitely be using these in the future. So today we're going to be using the Galaxy powder. So the first thing I'm going to do is add some clear alcohol to our bottle. All right, so now that that is filled, I'm going to add some more in here. All right, I'm going to add some of my mica powder to this. And we're going to swirl that up. We get this really great blue, pinky, purpley swirl. And then we're going to pour that in. Really pretty. But as you can see, it kind of makes that bottom pop a little bit, which I like. I could leave this like this in the blue, but I really want it to be black. And then when we mix it up, you get these beautiful fuchsia tones. So because for the black, a little goes a long way, I'm going to take my cooking skewer here, and I'm just going to dip it into my black gel food coloring and get just a little on here. And we're going to swirl it in. So as you can see, what it does is it lets the confetti really shine, and it also picks up all of those purpley pink iridescent mica flakes in the mica powder, so it just pops that much more. Now when this clears out, it'll clear out to black, and then obviously you'll still see some of the confetti at the bottom with the iridescent, and then we won't see any of the shimmers until we shake it up. So I actually think I need to add just a tiny bit more because I think this will end up looking a little blue. So at this point, I'm going to treat this like I do any of my other bottles. I'm going to make sure that the neck is good and dry. And then I'm going to take our stopper. And I'm going to rough this up a little bit too, just like I do our rubber stoppers. And yes, it's made of plastic. It's a little different, but you still can get a little bit of that happening. All right, now that that's all ready, we're just going to push that in good and tight. And then I like to give those a good twist to just try to get everything to really settle in. Okay. So now we've got our iridescent potion that as it settles out will turn just black with the little flecks of the flake in here. And then when we shake it up, we'll get our beautiful shimmers again. All right, so for this one, we're going to do some white sealing wax, and then we're actually going to go over it with some of that same iridescent mica powder that we put on the bottom and on our label. So then that way the actual drips will have the same iridescent quality to it, but I want to wrap the neck of my bottle with some black cording first. So this is a like black satin cording. And I thought that the little bit of like shimmer this has would be nice to just kind of go with the theme of everything we have going on. So I'm going to wrap this just like I have hundreds of other bottles before. I'll put a link up above to my tips and tricks video that'll tell you exactly how to wrap this, so I don't have to explain it every time. It's also explained in the beginning of my book, The Wizard's Craft Book. So now that the neck is wrapped, we're going to take our white sealing wax, and I'm basically just going to be going right here and letting it drip over. And again, with your sealing wax, it's a lot more drippy because it's wax instead of just hot glue. So just be aware and kind of do some controlled drips. And it's okay with the sealing wax if you decide to pull some of it off because maybe it got a little too drippy, like that one there. But I like to try to go slow so I can kind of manipulate the drips a little bit. So now we have our bottle with our drips at the top. All right, so now that this is dry, I have my brush and my iridescent mica powder, and I'm just putting a tiny bit on the end of the brush, and we are just going to brush over top of the white. Now, this is a little tedious, but it's going to give us a really nice effect when we're done. All right, so now that it's done, I don't know how well you guys can see it. I'm just going to then take a paper towel and brush any excess off of the glass and the top and our cording. But it's going to stay on our wax strips. So I don't know how well it films, but in person, it's really pretty. And we get this gorgeous little iridescent shimmer on all of our wax strips. All right, so the top I feel like really matches the bottom because they both have that really pretty iridescent shimmer to them. And now we're going to add on our label that has the same iridescent shimmer. Now I did cut this out obviously, and then I went around the outside edge with a black marker. Let's peel the backing off of our sticker paper, and now we're going to get this onto our bottle. And I don't know how well you guys can see, but it definitely has that little bit of iridescent shimmer to it, which is so pretty. And with that, I think this one is done. So as you can see, most of it is settled, so it does settle to that black. And then when we shake it up, and as you can see, we get our beautiful purple and iridescent confetti shimmers. And this will be a great addition to our potion and prop collection we've made along the way. So if you guys like this video, give me the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and we will catch you guys later. Thanks so much.